Welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. Thanks for watching us today. We are at Interrupt 2012 in Las Vegas, Nevada. On our program is Davide Petramala with Esnatech. He is the EVP of Sales and Business Development. David, how are you?
Good, good. How about yourself, Rich?
Good. We go way back, right?
Absolutely.
So we go back at least in the mid-90s in the days of computer telephony and CTI and all that, right?
That's right.
So I think this may be our first video, though.
It's our first video interview. Me and you have spoken many times over the years.
Back in those days, we
it.
just didn't really have the video studio and all
That's
that
it.
technology. So now that we do, I figured we'd reminisce and talk about how your company has evolved from a substantial player in what was a very important computer telephony / CTI market in the 90s to today. Take us through that history and how your company's evolved.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, when we first started off, it really was three of us, right? Two engineers and myself out of school that started a company. And at those days, specifically in Canada where we were from, telecom had just opened up. We didn't want to really be in the telecom space. We wanted to be, even back then, in the application space. So we focused on building applications around voice. So IVRs, and voicemail, and remember in the old day audio text trees.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, so we
Sure.
did a lot of, we started off as a company that did custom development. I think we built one of the first automated holiday booking systems in Canada. And then from there, that sort of evolved. We started to see that, you know, these weren't just custom projects. Applications, especially around voice and the way you process voice and live communications, had a business appeal across the board. So we started building products, apps that everyday businesses could use. So back then, if you remember, our big thing was sort of software. Ran back then Windows. You could put it into your office, connect it to any phone system, and you could deliver anything from an IVR, voicemail, auto attendant. And from there, we started looking at, you know, go to market. So we sort of built this OEM business where we took the software, we started white labeling it to all these manufacturers, right? So people like 3Com and Mitel and Astra, they would white label a portion or the total or all our apps and go to market with. And that was really successful for years. But you know what we found was it made Esna really an engineering company. And the more we built apps, the channel we were going to market really didn't utilize the maximum value of what we were doing, because a lot of our apps said, we don't care what kind of infrastructure you have, just layer the apps on and we can improve your business process. And what we realized, the OEM business, as much as it was good and it made us very astute in terms of building applications and integrating to different vendors, it limited the amount or where we went to market, because it always predicated someone buying a new phone system. And the reality was, when someone bought a phone system, especially in the mid to large enterprise, that could be there 7 to 10 to 15 years. So we decided that business today, believe it or not, you would laugh, still exists. People still white label some of that old technology today. But you know, about 8-9 years ago, we took that, you know, our application suite and started going directly to resellers. You know, the Verizons, the Bell Canadas, and we realized that for them, who had a large customer base, you know, probably 80% of those customers weren't buying new phone systems, so they weren't really generating anything other than maintenance revenue and support revenue.
Right.
So the value of Esna was they had an application suite that they could go to any one of their customers and said, if you're buying new equipment, this will add value. If not, we can improve your whole process, whether it was integrating voice into business applications, improving a business process, pick the app you want, layer it on what you can do, and we could add value. And that was very successful for us. It was a game changer, because it changed the way we went to market, it changed when we were being presented, and it expanded the amount of apps we could create. And one thing that became evident was what drove people to invest in the technology was around us integrating a lot of that core voice features, dialing, presence, mobility feature sets natively into business applications. So, you know, as everyone, we built interfaces into Lotus Notes, Outlook, GroupWise, SAP, you name it. The idea was people live there, we're going to deliver UC as a feature set where they live, and it would drive adoption. And that was successful for many years, and it's what led us to sort of this next initiative where we're now building this whole thing around the cloud, because we see the cloud as the next environment around business applications.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
So now specifically in the cloud, you're doing things like working with Google
Absolutely.
products, and I don't want to give too much away. So tell us where you fit in that ecosystem.
Absolutely. So what we saw, just a little background in how we got to be so strategic with Google and other vendors in the cloud was, what we saw was this trend. data was moving to the cloud, and then the big trend, Salesforce, CRM. Salesforce became the third largest company, it's an application company, and there was no software. And when we looked at what Microsoft was doing, and they were trying to build their own UC suite, which marginalized the value we could deliver for someone that was in a Microsoft shop on-prem, we saw this big emergence of cloud. In fact, what we've noticed in the last 2 or 3 years is email has become the driver for unified communications. In fact, Microsoft is the leader in that push, saying, hey, invest in email and groupware because it's the center focus of your collaboration strategy, and we've got this whole UC story around it. So we identified Google 3 or 4 years ago as a major player in the enterprise space, because if you looked at email, they owned 60-70% of the cloud-based email seats in the enterprise, which was 3% or 2% back then. And we saw that email was a natural shift to the cloud. Companies can't afford to just maintain and manage something so tactical of an investment. So we took our application platform and we built it about 4 years ago to integrate natively into apps, Gmail, Docs, Contacts, Calendar. So if someone went to the cloud, they would have absolutely the same experience of enhanced UC around their collaboration story as if they were in Outlook in the traditional Microsoft view. Back then, it was unique, specific companies, education, not-for-profit, and a few, mid-market and large enterprises. We had a lot of good wins early on, and we became part of sort of the Google ecosystem. So that meant the Google Enterprise Group started promoting Esna as their UC partner, because from Google's perspective, they're not tied to any vendor. If you're going to go to Google, they don't care what your voice infrastructure is. Now how to partner with Esna that could layer in, right, and integrate that public cloud app onto that on-prem infrastructure. And that was, very important for them, because, customers that were going to the cloud, actually, many of them already had unified messaging and click the dial, and it was a driver. So losing that was a sort of deterrent to make that shift.
Right.
So we had a lot of success. We've built a great partnership with them. We actually now have this whole new ecosystem of Google Apps resellers their whole focus is collaboration. They're selling email, collab, document management, and layering Esna as that sort of voice integration piece. And that sort of success we've had with deployments, use cases, and driving value within the enterprise has resonated to us building very strong strategic partnerships with people like Cisco and Avaya and ShoreTel, where they're leveraging our technology to integrate not only their legacy, but their new platforms into public cloud platforms. So if you look at a lot of the voice vendors, a lot of them see managed services as sort of the future direction to deliver voice, because what company wants to buy equipment? At the end of the day, one managed service versus another, you don't want it to be determined by price. The way you're going to differentiate your offering is how you can integrate that service into different business applications. So you're driving adoption, you're maximizing utilization of that service, and reality of it is people going to managed services are going to probably have 1 or 2, 3 core applications in the cloud. Salesforce automation, email, and we become a very strategic piece to that, to allowing those managed services, not just traditional on-prem PBXs, to natively work in some of those core business processes. So it's almost like we did a few years ago, remember? We drove value in SAP and Outlook, now we're driving value in Salesforce, in Microsoft Dynamics in the cloud, in Microsoft 365, Google, you name it. When people move to the cloud, they can retain and gain more functionality around their cloud story with no software.
It's great.
Right? Ubiquity, the whole thing. That's the key.
That's the beauty of the cloud, right? So what's next?
Well, we see this major trend on unifying sort of the silos of collaboration. So what's emerged is you've got your voice silo, which is UC. You've got this emerging cloud strategy, which is going to the, which is email, and they're separated. So in stage one, what did we do? We allow people to have these UC and collaboration investments merged together so they're optimized, not be separate silos. We see this major trend around social networking. It's social marketing and social networking collab. It's a whole other communication collaboration technology that's emerging from Jive, Google+, IBM has a strategy that is, again, another silo. So we're all about building integration so these silos can communicate together as if they're one big platform. So we see ourselves as the enabler to make this all work together, leveraging software, no hardware, and then by embedding these services natively in these different applications, which more and more are web services, you're getting true ubiquity. I don't have to build mobile devices, tablets, they just natively work there. So we see social networking, and I define it as 2 things, social marketing and social collaboration. They're actually two unique technologies. You'll see a lot of companies adopt, they may adopt one to try and do both, but eventually they may have multiple strategies. A Facebook with a Jive strategy. How do you make those merge together? That's where we're pushing our technologies to make those two strategies work together by enabling them to seamlessly work together through communications.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, great to see you again. Thanks for being on the program, Dave.
Hey, always a pleasure, Rich. I appreciate it.